Hello everyone, welcome to the JLR Podcast Network, and it's time for another episode of Broken Sword, the Shadow of the Templars walkthrough and review. This will be the 6th episode and we're back in Paris. What do I mean by that? Well, here's time for a little quick review. We're playing George Sobert, a young American traveling in Paris during fall near the millennium, late 90s basically, and he's caught in an explosion, and at a cafe there was this terrorist clown showed up with an accordion, not an harmonica. Put that accordion inside the cafe, blew it up, but stole a briefcase from an old guy there right before it blew up. George was pissed off, like, who's this clown trying to kill me? So he teamed up with a freelance photojournalist, Nico Collard. And together they found information about this killer clown. He found out his name was Khan. He was staying at a hotel, Ubu. There they found a manuscript in his safe, and that manuscript was a medieval manuscript about the Knights Templars. After looking at the manuscript, George went to a Groen Museum to find more information, where he found a tripod that is actually in the manuscript that was discovered in Ireland. So George was like, "Hey, I'm going to Ireland," and Nico gives him more information right before he left about a Professor Professor Pegram that had gone to Ireland and was basically in control of this excavation, where they not only found the tripod but also the Lochmarn gem, the Templar gem. And so George went to Ireland, and in Ireland he started asking this little kid, Liam McGuire, like, do you know anything about this excavation? Well, there was this one fellow, local guy, who was working there, and his name is Sean Fitzgerald. He's wearing glasses. George went inside, saw the guy, like, asked, "Hey, did you work with Professor Pegram?" He denied it. And then we asked Liam again, then we asked another guy, and they all confirmed that he talked to Pegram. He was given a package, and then we went back to Sean Fitzgerald, like, "Hey, yo, you definitely worked with him, and you talked to him, and he gave you a package." And then he panicked, and he ran outside the barn with the package, and then we heard those screeching tires. There was a car, a Ferrari, that drove over him, and the driver was a pixie. All of a sudden, now we're dealing with a killer pixie. But it's obviously Khan who bought those two costumes, both of the Clown and Seamus the Pixie, in Paris. And then George, went inside and tried to become an electrician. Trying to fix the bartender's glass washer. He wanted to see him in action before he would allow him to go into the cellar to look at the pumps. So we fixed that, and once we were inside, we have to go. We can't see anything, so let's open the trap door from outside so we can get some light into the cellar. And once we did that, once George opened the trap door, bam! Here comes Khan. Just walked straight up to George, like, "Hello, did you notice? Did you see this accident? The man involved in the accident claimed he lost a parcel," and it was like, "Oh, I hadn't seen anything. We didn't see anything." But so he played it cool, George. But he did say he equated the queasiness in his stomach with light opera. So it was. Yeah, he stood right in front of the killer, and I do wonder if Khan knows who George is, and if he knows that he stole his manuscript or not. Then again, we went downside, back into the pub, and back in the cellar, and in the cellar there it is, the gem, the Lochmarn gem that Sean must have dropped when he got hit by the Ferrari, and so we have the gem, but there was still the matter of what Pegram found at the castle. So we finally, George was able to go to the castle, convincing the guy to. He convinced the Sean Fitzgerald's uncle to go look for him. So he went away, and then George went up the haystack into the castle, and there was the infamous goat, part of the goat puzzle, and we were able to get through it. Get past the code, and then inside the castle there was this puzzle about getting this door open. We needed to use plaster of Paris to make this mold of 5 fingers, kind of 5-finger thing, to put in the wall, and Once that was able, we were able to do that. I keep saying we. It's so weird. I feel like it's me and George doing it, or we and the audience doing it together. But it's just me. But anyways, we were able to access the room. In there, there's a picture of a man hanging and the word Montfaucon. And that's about it. We have the gem, we have that, and then we have a clue about the guy Jacques Marquet, who was supposed to pick up the gem from Sean Fitzgerald, but he never showed up as well. So Pegram is missing. That guy never showed up, and then you can only think that Khan is just taking them all out, but who knows? So at Nico's apartment, Nico's suggestions were we still don't know much about the manuscript. We just know we have the two items, gem, tripod, but nothing else that we really know about the manuscript. So we should ask Lobineau. And Lobineau wasn't there when we first went to the crew machine, but he's there now. And boy, are we gonna have to deal with a really sleazy character, in my opinion. But yeah, and then she suggested that. She also suggested that we should go talk to Rosso at the police station. Maybe we have enough information for him to help us catch the killer. So in that order, let's restore. By the way, this is also an audio version on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, you name it, and many other audio podcasts. Many other podcast apps. But yeah, but then also a video here, like on YouTube. You can see me, camera, and everything. Cuckoo. That's why I am doing this. I'm cuckoo. All right, Restore JLR Podcast Network. Here we are at Crew Museum. Lobineau, let's just get it over with. We're gonna have to talk to him a lot from now on, but we need to know more about the manuscript. So he's very helpful in that.
I beg your pardon.
Okay.
Are you André Lobineau?
Yes, he is.
That's me. You want my autograph?
No, I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George Stobart. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay, shoot.
From the get-go, you want my autograph. What a... You son of... Anyway, this is the picture that we saw in Ireland, the Montfaucon thing. And then there's the manuscript. So we're here first. Maybe we should mention the manuscript first before we say anything else.
I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much, only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
All right. So he's into helping with us, but he needs to see the manuscript, obviously. So we can now still... So it changed. We can ask about the Templars. We can ask about Nico. What will happen then? Let's just get it over with. Let's mention Nico.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah. Not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman. Maybe it was my imagination, but I noticed a predatory look in his eye. Suddenly, this friendly historian had turned into the big bad wolf.
This guy would get cancelled today with that kind of an attitude. We'll talk about Nico once again.
This friend who has the manuscript?
Oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
She lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
Ah, I know it well. I'll drop by. Just as soon as I can.
What have we done? Poor Nico. Let's ask more about the Templars, since he seems to be an expert.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez.
Georgie. I would never... George's new nickname. Georgie. Terrible. Let's ask more about the Templars.
How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later as the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, André.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
It's good to know a little bit more about the history of who we're dealing with here. I mean, it's the big theme of the game, Knights Templar, so let's ask more about them.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Interessant. Let's ask more about them.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or, if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
Not for a minute. Well, we might have to reconsider that thought, André Lobineau. Well, I mean, that's it about the Templars, and we've already told him he can go to Rue Charlie to talk to Nico. What about the picture of the hanging man and Montfaucon?
Does the name Montfaucon mean anything to you?
Sorry.
Sure, it was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfaucon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfaucon in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarn.
Lochmarn? That's where Pegram was digging.
That's right. He'd left the excavation before I arrived.
Interesting. Now, we can all of a sudden ask about Pegram. Shall we do that?
Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
The second week of July?
Maybe. Yes, it was, just before Bastille Day.
So Pegram was in Paris at the same time as the other victims.
Pardon? Victims of what?
Nothing. Just thinking aloud.
There we have it. Pegram as well. Pegram during the same... All of Khan's victims, they were all at the same time in Paris. Second week in July. And Pegram as well. This is starting to sound like there's some conspiracy. It's a mass conspiracy. I'm not going to do Jesse Ventura again, sorry. All right, we can still ask about Montfaucon. Montfaucon? Yeah.
Where was the site of Montfaucon?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin, but there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
I see. But there is a place in Paris named Montfaucon, all right. Shall we show him the gem? What kind of reaction would he have?
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did you get it?
From Professor Pegram's messenger boy.
Did Pegram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle. Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so.
He brushed that off quickly. Has he seen Khan? Probably not.
Does the guy in this photograph look familiar to you?
No.
No, couldn't care less. No. So there's really nothing else. Can we shake his? No, we're not even going to try to shake his.
Thanks for your help, André.
You're welcome.
Because he's a douchebag. Doesn't. I mean, he will gradually become more of a douchebag. So we know of Montfontainebleau, a place here in Paris, but like I said before, we're gonna follow Nico's advice and go to the police station and ask Rosso. Well, we'll just tell Rosso, here it is, Montfontainebleau. But let's go to the police station first. And here they all are. There's Moo. Yeah, this counter here, and you can see. So it's funny. You can see behind the counter, like there's this office map of Paris, and Rosso sitting there, writing something down. Office work, I suppose. There are some telephones here. If I could call Nico if I wanted to. Let's look at Moo here.
It was Rosso's sidekick, Sergeant Moo.
Sergeant Moo. So I talked to Sergeant Moo. How is he doing?
Excuse me.
Ah, Monsieur Stobart, n'est-ce pas?
That's correct. You remember me.
The retention of such data is part of my duty as a gendarme. That is how crime is fought, through attention to detail, not intuition.
Yes, sure.
I love the French comedy films, the gendarme films with Louis de Funès. You should, if you haven't seen those, you should check them out. Just any film with Louis de Funès. He's a fantastic actor. Mad Adventures of Rabbi Jacob and the Grand Restaurant Fantomas. Anyway, that's pretty. We're off topic now. We can ask about a lot of things here. Khan, Rosso, the clown. This is probably Flappin' Guido, and then Jacques Marquet. Shall we ask about if he knows something about Khan?
Do you know a man named Khan? He's a shifty-looking guy with a scar on his left cheek.
No, monsieur. Has this man any connection with the bombing of the cafe?
Yes. I believe Khan was the name he used when he hired the clown costume.
Okay. Shall we show him the picture of him?
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur.
It's the guy who bombed the cafe. The clown.
This man looks nothing like a clown?
He's taken off his grease paint and costume.
Then there is nothing to link this man with the killing.
Nothing? Look at those murderous eyes.
Hardly likely to get him convicted.
Very bad policing. Shall we tell him about Flappin' Guido? Those two.
I'd like to report an assault.
Yes, monsieur. Where is the victim?
I'm the victim. I've been harassed by a pair of thugs.
I see. And where did this alleged assault take place?
Outside the Hotel Ubu. They stopped me as I was leaving and went through my pockets.
Could you describe the suspects, monsieur?
One looked like a gorilla, and the other looked like a weasel. Their names are Flap and Guido.
Bon. I'll get them this time.
Bon, get them this time. So he knows about Flap and Guido. Let's ask about Flap and Guido.
What are you going to do about Flap and Guido, Sergeant?
I'm going to bust them, monsieur. For years I have been hoping to pin something on that pair. Now's my chance. I'll show them. And the inspector.
Thanks, Sergeant. Thanks for taking me seriously.
I'm only doing my duty, monsieur.
Only doing my duty. Okay. What about... shall we ask about... We can probably ask about Rosso and talk to Rosso, but shall we ask if Moo knows about Jacques Marquet?
Have you heard of a man called Marquet?
Yes. He used to be known as the Mole of Montmartre. I heard he's been hospitalized, probably by one of his rivals.
Hey? Hospitalized? By one of his rivals? Who could have hospitalized him? All the no-shows in Ireland, who do you think is responsible?
Which hospital was Marquet taken to?
The Hagenmeyer Clinic, in the Avenue des Hérissons.
All right. So we now have a place. He told us about a hospital that this guy has been kept at. Still being. He's still there. I'm guessing, right? Let's ask more.
Why
about
was Marquet known as the Mole of Montmartre?
Because he lived in Montmartre, I suppose.
Yeah, but why the mole?
I don't know. Maybe he ruined people's lawns.
I highly doubt that. Okay, so now we have another location that we couldn't go to, a hospital that has Jacques Marquet. Let's see, Rosso.
Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Sure, why not? We can say yes or no. Let's ask.
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur.
We have so much information that we can give him. We can show him the gem, the picture of Khan, all
Stobart
of it.
is here to see you, monsieur.
Did he say what it was about?
No, monsieur.
Very well.
Very well. Hello, Rosso.
Hi, Inspector. Remember me?
But of course, Mr. Stobart. My mind is a well-ordered faculty. A mental classification system that's the envy of the Bibliothèque Nationale. No tricks, mark you, monsieur. Just exercise. Just as our muscles waste through inactivity, so our minds decay. But there is no need. If only people would learn to exercise their wits daily.
If he was trying to impress me, it worked. He was pompous and patronizing, but he had style.
Eh bien, if you called about the bombing, you're too late. Investigations have been closed.
But
I have been taken off the case.
what about the murderer, the dead guy?
It is out of my hands.
That is ridiculous. We have so much to tell you. We actually have that's a lot of icons we can ask about. So Khan, for example. Let's just tell about Khan.
Don't you want to know what I found out about the killer?
I told you, monsieur, the case is closed. I have washed my hands of the whole affair.
Then I'll have to continue my investigations without your help.
No, you must forget the business of the clown completely. Go back to being an ordinary tourist, Stobart.
Hang on a second. There's an alarm going on here. Let me just go for a quick... Haha. Stupid alarm. It's, you heard me curse there in Icelandic. It's the alarm for my daughter's tablet, learning tablet. So, yeah. Caught me off guard there. All right, anyways. Really pissed off because I... Never mind. All right, so... I completely missed everything about what he said about Khan, but you guys heard it and you guys saw it. But yeah, he completely, let's show him the picture of Khan.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No.
It's the face of a killer.
The man who bombed the cafe?
The photograph was taken soon after the explosion. He'd escaped through the sewers, leaving a trail of clues behind him.
Circumstantial evidence, Stobart. None of it proves a thing.
He really does not... What if we show him the gem? What happens then?
What do you make of this, Inspector?
Astounding. Where did you come by a stone like that?
I was given it by a man in a bar in Ireland. Do you recognize the gem?
It is unfamiliar to me. If such a jewel had been stolen, I would know it for sure.
Okay. What about Professor Pegram? We can ask about him.
Have you heard of Professor Pegram, the archaeologist?
Molly Pegram, the second son of Lord Barclay Pegram?
I don't know. I only read about him in a magazine.
So much for the efficacy of rehabilitation. What has he done this time?
He made an important archaeological find in Ireland.
Shall we ask more about him?
Do you know Pegram well?
I have connections with the family, but I wouldn't say I knew him at all.
Is his name really Molly?
Of course not. That was the nickname he was given at school. All his friends and acquaintances know him as Molly.
Interesting. Molly Pegram. That's a weird one. Guido and Flap? Yeah, sure, why not?
Do you know a pair of thugs called Flap and Guido?
I have known those two since they graduated from special school. Flap is a nasty piece of work, but Guido is the real brains of the partnership. Where did you hear of them?
I met them out front of the Hotel Ubu.
Yeah, those guys. What about Plantar, the man who died?
Did you find out the ID of the guy who was killed in the explosion?
I already knew who he was.
You already knew him? Why?
I heard that the bomb victim's name was Plantar.
Your sources are reliable.
He was a big shot at the Treasury, wasn't he? Maybe that's why you've been taken off the case.
I'm sorry, monsieur. I cannot comment.
Big shot at the Treasury of the French government? Well, now he is actually a big player. No, I won't say that. What about Jacques Marquet?
Ever heard of a guy called Marquet? Jacques Marquet?
Marquet? I know the name well. He has a record for suspected blackmail, kidnapping, arson, and art theft.
An all-rounder, huh? How come he's on the loose?
His bravado is matched only by the courtroom skills of his attorney.
All right, he told us a little bit about Jacques Marquet. What is this thing about the hand? This is like the fortune-telling thing with the old lady outside Nico's apartment, but this is probably about his psychic powers?
What was that psycho-detective business you did in the cafe?
It is my theory that the passions evoked in violent crimes create ripples in the ether, invisible to all but the possessor of a highly developed and receptive mind.
I'm impressed. Can you bend spoons, too?
I didn't think a man of your obvious intelligence would stoop to mockery.
I'm not mocking. I've had personal experience of the power of the mind. I used to get ignored at parties until I read a book that changed my life.
Really? What was it called?
Hypnotism for Fun and Profit. He looked at me as if I'd farted at a funeral.
The power of mesmerism is a rare gift, not a party trick.
He looked at me like I'd farted at a funeral. George, some of these lines are effing fantastic. Let's ask more about it.
You're not going to try any of that psychic interrogation on me, are you?
Do you find the thought of my probing distasteful?
Let's just say I'd rather you didn't. I've got more doubts than Doubting Thomas when it comes to mysticism.
Too bad. I think you would make an interesting subject under controlled regression.
The day I let anyone mess with my mind hasn't dawned yet.
This is quite the conversation. Okay, we only have the option about the Templar, but yeah, he's completely off this case. But has he any interest in the Templars?
Have you heard of the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers? But of course, monsieur. Their fame is widespread throughout France. We haven't forgotten them, unlike the rest of Europe.
It was the King of France who persecuted them, though.
Indeed.
That shook his cool. Underneath his cultured facade, the man was real twitchy.
Hey? Let's ask more about the Templars, then.
You're obviously a great admirer of the Knights Templar.
They were men of great honor, monsieur. The flower of chivalry.
Not everyone would share your views, Inspector.
Not everyone shares my passion for Bartok.
But if the Templars were as honorable as...
That's enough. I do not wish to hear your uninformed opinions, Stobbard.
Why is he so defensive about the Templars? Let's ask more questions about the Templars, then.
Why do you get so wound up about the Knights Templar? They've been dead for centuries. I shouldn't have pushed my luck. Maybe his ancestors were Templars. Whatever. I saw the anger flare in his eyes like a distant summer thunderstorm.
The Templars were the first true internationalists. 800 years on, and still the world is fragmented by nationalistic flag-waving fools. You will excuse me.
And he storms off. And he's gone. We upset it. Wow, we talked about the Templars and he just got really upset about it. But he's off the case. He's not going to help us at all. And he said he actually told us just to stop doing it. So we're not going to listen to him. And he seems really upset about that we mentioned anything about the Templars. Like, what the hell? What could possibly be wrong with him? Anyways, we have the hôpital. Is it hôpital? Hôpital? Why isn't there an S in hospital in French? I have no idea. So I think we should go to the hospital. I mean, who knows? If the guy is near death, then we should probably...
The old building managed to retain some of its original grandeur, but the modern additions look like a baseball cap on a statue of a medieval saint.
Okay, so you can imagine there's an old building and there are it's been updated at certain points. There's like a glass entrance to it. So so here we have a big hospital where Jacques Marquet should be at. He should be hospitalized here. There's an ambulance here.
There was no sign of the crew of the ambulance.
I don't know, yeah. We don't really need to go use the ambulance. We need to get inside first. So here we are. So let's look around this hospital. There's someone here at the counter. Who's this?
The woman managed to look overworked and hassled, though she didn't appear to be doing anything.
Really? Then she doesn't mind if we ask her a bunch of questions?
Excuse me?
Yes, sir?
Yes, sir?
Is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plants. They were my idea.
Yeah, there are a lot of plants
A little
around here.
greenery to evoke the spirit of nature.
Hmm.
How may I help you?
Yeah, it's quite astonishing. A nice big hall. It's definitely was an old building that has been updated. But yeah, all of these plants here as well. Does look like a garden center. So we can ask about Jacques Marquet, the two thugs, the clown. Let's ask about Jacques Marquet.
I'm here to see Jacques Marquet.
Oh, yes. Are you related to our client, sir?
Truthful George, we're not related to him.
No, I'm conducting a private investigation.
Then I can't help you.
Really? We can still ask about Jacques Marquet. We're trying to be honest here.
So, do I get to see Marquet before the funeral?
Yeesh.
That attitude will get you nowhere.
George.
My instructions were quite clear. No one gets to see Marquet. So unless you can prove you're a relative or a close acquaintance, you're wasting your time here.
A relative or a close... If you can prove you're a relative or a close acquaintance. Close acquaintance. What would be close enough then? What about Guido? Flappin' Guido.
Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from a zoo.
What about the clown? I highly doubt that.
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children.
Theodore the...
Personally, I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
Jesus. Such a nasty description. Has she seen Khan? Shall we give her a picture of Khan?
Have you seen this man here at the clinic?
No, sir. And I never forget a face.
No, sir, and I never forget a face. All right. What about his name? Does he know him by Thomas Merlin? Not Muller, by the way. We can show her the ID.
Look at this ID pass.
So you're Merlin.
Hey?
Marquet's been asking for you.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here.
What? So...
Now, let me see. He was on Ward B12, as I recall.
She thinks we're So...
Oh, he's being transferred to... Oh, dear. He's on Ward J2. That's... Nurse Grendel's ward.
Nurse Grendel's ward? Sounds problematic. There's a picture here of a nurse. Shall we ask about the nurse?
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Jeez.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whipped the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything, I mean everything, is done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock alarm call, 6:10 bowel movements, and woe betide anyone who doesn't have a result.
Jesus.
Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
So ask more about her?
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
Oh, you mean she's been here a long time?
No, I mean there's not a man in this clinic who hasn't sprawled out on her.
I was beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous, with a big green capital J.
So she's good looking. Let's ask more about her.
How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Bear left past the administrator's sauna. And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
What's that? You all catch that? How we
Thanks
can
for your
get
help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
there? Alright. Well, that's going to be very helpful, though. But I hope I remember her directions. Let's just head this way and see if we can... We're heading down the left corridor here.
As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed through the corridors. It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow.
Let's look at the guy.
He looked blissfully happy, for no apparent reason.
No apparent reason. And what about this? His machine?
It was a classic example of functionalism, like an early Soviet spacecraft. I almost expected to see a dog or a monkey leap out.
What would happen if we tried to touch it?
I wasn't in the mood for shining floors.
Alright, well, so talk to the guy?
Hello.
What's that?
I said hello.
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
It's a deal.
Wow, George became really violent there, but then again, this guy sounds like a creep. We can ask about Jacques Marquet.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
With Mr. Shiny? We have an option of talking about... Huh? Did he just refer to the thing as Mr. Shiny? Let's ask about him.
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years and he's never let me down once.
Cuckoo! He's calling his polish machine Mr. Shiny. Let's ask about it once more.
How come you got so attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that...
You think it's odd, don't you?
The hell it is.
I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind my back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull-through.
Whatever you've got with this metal mop-foot is probably a fine and noble thing.
It is? Say, it's not every day I meet someone as crazy as me.
Yes. I don't think he meant it that way, you crazy... Never mind. So ask about the nurse.
Do you know a nurse called Grendel?
Sure I do.
Is she on duty today?
Yeah, end of the corridor, ward J2.
Yeah, that's what we heard before, J2. He's not even trying to have a French accent. That's completely a British accent. Like, I wish I knew more about the accents in the UK, like which one that belongs to. This is a wild guess, but is he from Birmingham with that accent? But man, maybe I'm completely off. I'm not gonna try.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the quarters?
No, sir, I haven't. But I've got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you would. With a friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Quite the loose screw. What about, have you seen Khan?
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Who is it?
That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen him before?
How should I know? You haven't told me who he is.
Take a look at the photo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, have you seen him before?
No.
Jesus, he's really irritating. Alright, let's just leave him.
See you later.
Leave him be.
Yeah, take care now.
Yeah! Whatever. There's a door here. I wonder what it leads to.
The door didn't have a sign or label or any kind of identification.
Shall I try to open it?
Hey now, you can't go in there.
How come?
I'm responsible for the contents of that cupboard.
So there's a cupboard that we could get into if that guy wasn't there. I wish we could get rid of him. Just permanently. There's a statue here.
It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. To my mind, he looked just plain constipated.
Again with the snarky remarks. Constipated. I have that look when I hear something weird like that guy talking about Mr. Shiny. I kind of look constipated when he was talking about it. Is this a water cooler?
I guess the water cooler was for the use of people lost in the corridors.
So drink some water? What the
Maybe
hell?
the face of the unaccountably happy domestic had made me unduly suspicious. I mean, I knew it was only my imagination, but the water tasted, well, peculiar.
He spit it out immediately as he drank. He thought the water was peculiar. I wonder what that guy has done to the water. What's this here?
The connector in the socket supplied electricity to the polishing machine.
Ah, so if we take it out, then we will make sure that Mr. Shiny will no longer move. I'm gonna pull it out.
As I tugged the plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Died. It's dead.
Mr. Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
Yeah, what is wrong? So he went around the corner and now he's gonna plug the machine back into the socket. He's on his way, I think. He went kind of behind the corner. Oh, there he is. So now he's plugged it back in. But now we have a chance to go into that cupboard, I think, right? Because he's not there to yell at us. What's inside? It's a white coat. We look like a doctor.
Dr. Stobart at your service.
We look like a doctor. That's great. So now we're going to be able to fool people, I think. All right, let's move forward. I think let's go here to the left and see if this is J2. A few minutes later. No, we just went back. Maybe J2 is in there. Is that J2? Yes, we found it. That's the nurse. For sure. She told us to come to her.
Good afternoon, doctor.
Oh, hi. Is this Ward J2?
Yes, sir. The patients are ready for your inspection, doctor.
Thank you, nurse. Well, who's first?
Monsieur Croquet in bed 2.
What's his problem?
He's been complaining of loss of consciousness.
Oh.
You'll need this, doctor.
What did we get?
She gave me a long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks.
Smile. Seems exactly nice to us. All right, we're going to... So there are 3 guys here.
Hi,
and we're going to
I'm
the guy
Dr.
in the middle
Stobar.
who's laying there.
Hello, Doctor.
The nurse told me you keep losing consciousness.
That's right. I've had the problem as long as I can remember.
Jesus.
It's a real out-of-body experience. Like death, but not so conclusive.
I see. How long does it last?
Just a fraction of a second, and then I recover.
I might not have been a doctor, but I was formulating a diagnosis all the same. This guy was nuts. I know exactly what you mean. It's known in the medical field as blinking.
Is it serious?
Of course it isn't serious. It's perfectly natural.
But just think, 2 seconds every minute. Why, that's almost half an hour every day. 2 weeks out of every year spent in total darkness.
I don't have time to listen to this baloney.
So he's a cuckoo. We can ask about Jacques Marquet.
Which bed is Marquet in?
He's round the corner, in solitary.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know, but the men who brought him in were wearing masks and rubber gloves. Hey, you're a doctor. How come you don't know?
We doctors don't know everything.
Then how come you act like you do?
So wait, people were carrying Jacques Marquet inside with masks and gloves. Was he a COVID patient? Let's ask him about him.
Has Marquet had any visitors?
Nah, neither have I. That's the worst thing about being in hospital. You feel like the rest of the world has abandoned you.
Well, you know how it is. Life goes on.
Thanks for those comforting words.
Such a depressing conversation that's going on. All right, let's just leave him
goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
So he said he was around the corner, but he was brought in by people that were wearing masks and gloves. So let's go around the corner and see if we can get to Jacques Marquet and speak with him. Huh?
Doctor!
What is it?
The guy from
You haven't taken my blood pressure.
Oh, the guy... The third guy from the... if you look from the left, the third guy stopped us before we were able to get to Jacques Marquet, and he told us to check his blood pressure. Right? So we're using the blood... What is it?
Seems fine to me.
You're not doing it right.
Of course I am.
No, you're not. Dr. Monroe never did it like that.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later.
So that guy is noticing that we're not doing it correctly.
It was a device used for measuring people's blood pressure.
A blood pressure measuring device? I have no idea what it's called. Wait, so does that mean because we didn't do it correctly, if we try to go back around the corner to go to Jacques Marquet,
Doctor.
We're stopped again?
What now?
You didn't finish taking my blood pressure.
He will constantly just call us and say, you haven't checked my blood pressure. So he is not letting us...
Okay, let's try again.
Okay, we'll try it again.
You don't have the first idea what you're doing, do you?
He's on to us.
I'll come back when you've recovered your manners.
All right, so he's on to us, and he's not allowing us to get past that corner there. So we're going to need some help with, well, having his blood pressure checked. So we ask the nurse something.
Pardon me, nurse.
Oui, monsieur?
We can mention Jacques Marquet.
Do you have a patient named Marquet on this ward?
Oui, monsieur. He is in the private room at the end of the ward. He has been placed in strict isolation.
Why has he been placed in isolation? Let's talk about it.
Why is Marquet in quarantine?
If you wish to know more, you'll have to speak to Herr Hagenmeier. All I know is that Marquet's room is strictly out of bounds.
Herr Hagenmeier. Sounds like it's a doctor that we can find here somewhere.
Do you know who paid for Marquet's room?
No, of course I don't.
Preferential treatment like that must cost an arm and a leg.
That's not my concern, monsieur.
It's quite the treatment he gets. What about the clown?
Do you have any clowns on the ward?
Why, yes, we do. A professional clown.
I'll bet he lightens the place up.
Hardly. Monsieur Boissy has been in a coma for the last 3 months.
Jesus. That's probably the guy from to the left.
What's wrong with Boissy?
He was involved in a very nasty accident.
Oh no.
A silly stunt involving a unicycle. His current condition is due to post-traumatic shock. It's unlikely he'll ever perform as a clown again.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good.
Poor fella. So we can't really ask her. What, shall we ask about the pumps?
What is this device?
It's for taking the patient's blood pressure, doctor.
We should know that.
Thank you, nurse.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Is she not surprised to know that we don't know what it is? Pretending to be a doctor here? Someone would, a smart person would know there's something fishy going on. So let's check this guy from the left here.
Now, I was no doctor, but this guy looked dead to me.
That's probably him. Looked dead. He's in a coma. Right. We might get more information from Herr Hagenmeier, as she called him. So let's go back to the hallway where Mr. Shiny, the polish machine, is. What a cuckoo. It's a weird guy who named his polishing machine Mr. Shiny, and for some reason he's not French. Well, he's not speaking with a French accent. He's just it's a completely British accent there. Who's this?
The guy seemed to be practicing his air of authority. Today he was working on his withering stare.
Okay, he's just standing there staring George down. Let's talk to him and see what he says.
Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Aha! Just the man.
Just the
You
man.
must be the new boy.
Ah, he's...
Yeah, I must be.
Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bunny, come here, boy.
Bunny? There's a third person come here. Guy wearing glasses.
This is Benoit, my nephew.
Nephew?
Can I trust you to look after him?
Do your own babysitting, Gramps. Who do you think you are, anyhow?
I am Felix Hagenmeier.
And
That's him.
may I say what an honor it is to meet you in person, sir. You are on my medical wall of fame. Right up there with Pasteur and Leary. I look on it as a privilege, no, an honor, to look after your nephew, sir.
He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
I'll bet.
Show him around. Let him see some real suffering.
Okay, so now all of a sudden we have to show this guy around. This guy who's wearing glasses. He has a blonde hair like George, but doesn't seem like to be as handsome as George is. I mean, but yeah, that is Herr Hagenmeier. But we have no option about. We cannot ask about Jacques Marquet, so we can ask about the blood pressure thing.
Look what Nurse Grendel gave me, sir.
Ah, yes, very good. I'm glad to see you are carrying it with you. It reassures the public to see the medical profession using traditional archaic tools.
It's not one of those machine ones. It's one of those where you just pump it yourself. Has he seen Khan?
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay, so Khan hasn't been around here, I think.
So long, Hagenmeier.
So long, Hagenmeier. Shall we talk to this boy who's not
Hey,
following us?
Benoit.
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Benoit. Shall we talk to We can ask about Jacques Marquet.
Do you know anything about a patient named Marquet?
No, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
He is only a trainee, so he probably doesn't know much about things there. We can ask about Nurse Grendel.
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
No, monsieur. This is my first day here.
Okay.
I can't wait to get my hands dirty. I was talking about treating my first patient, of course. I didn't mean I'd get my hands dirty with a nurse.
Shut up, Benoit.
Okay, sir.
What is this? Abbott and Costello? No. There's a comedy bit there. I don't know. I don't know. Any comedy bit. I don't know. It doesn't have to be Abbott and Costello. I don't know why I said that. Such an outdated reference. What about the pump?
Here, take this pressure gauge.
Pressure gauge. That's what you call it.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something.
So we just basically gave him the pressure gauge. I'm thinking he's probably the one who can help us check that guy's blood pressure.
Follow me, Benoit.
I'm right behind you, sir.
So then let's head back to Ward J2, and let's have Benoit check his blood temperature, blood pressure, not temperature. God damn it! Oh, we went straight to Ward J2, and we're not even going to Mr. Shiny anymore. Oh, and the nurse is calling us again.
Could you take a look at the client in bed number 3 now? His name is Eric Sopmarsh.
What's his problem?
He's delirious. He just now came out of theater. He's recovering from major surgery.
I'll have him up and about before you can say, Lazarus, get out of your bed and walk.
That's a weird thing to say.
Hello? Anybody home?
Project.
Who are you?
Oh.
My name is Dr. Stobart, and I'm here to steer you down the rocky road to recovery.
Now we're back with
Dr.
him.
Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it.
Isn't it obvious he's not a doctor? So now we don't have the thing to check his blood pressure, the pressure gauge. We gave it to Benoit, so Benoit has to do it. But we can ask him about Jacques Marquet.
What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he?
Isn't he?
That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
He's he seems really upset about it. Let's ask about him again, Jacques Marquet.
Do you know what's wrong with Marquet?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
He reminds me, his voice reminds me of the guy in Ace Ventura Pet Detective, the second film. The bad guy in that film, who had hunted all those animals. He was trying to start a war between the two tribes there in because of that bat thing. It's a long time ago that I saw that film, but he's that pompous sounding British guy. So this guy doesn't even sound French at all. Anyways, let's ask about Nurse Grendel.
What's your impression of Nurse Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
I've no complaints.
Ooh, let's ask more about her.
The woman in reception described Nurse Grendel as a monster.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
He sounds like he's enjoying it a little bit too much. But let's leave.
See you later.
Let's see what happens. I'm going to go around the corner now. Are you going to still complain about me not checking your blood pressure? I don't have the pressure gauge, so... Yeah. He's waving
You
at me.
haven't finished taking my blood pressure.
He's still yelling at us. We'll go back and just say, shut up, old man. Let's see.
Will you keep quiet? You're disturbing the other patients.
I'll keep quiet when you've taken my blood pressure properly.
I have to see Jacques Marquet first.
How come he gets preferential treatment? It's because he's got money, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not like that.
Yes,
I'll
it
come
is.
back when you've dealt with that chip on your shoulder.
But we don't have the pressure gauge, so we're going to have to
Hey,
talk to
Benoit.
to Benoit.
Yes, sir?
Oh, here's the awesome option to tell him to use it.
Are you ready with that pressure gauge?
Primed and ready to pump, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
So there's the patient in the middle. He's not been complaining. The patient to the right, who's been complaining all the time, and then there's Nurse Grentel. But we don't want to upset her. So let's just get it over with, and
use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
Get him to shut up. Okay. Chance. He is checking his blood pressure, so we're now able to get around the corner. There's a security guy sitting here outside the store here. There's another statue.
It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. To my mind, he looked just plain constipated.
What? It's the same gag for a different statue. Hey, guys. Revolution Software. Come on. Come on. That was the exact same gag, but for a different thing. The first minus of this of this review. And the volume, I suppose, the balance of, soundtrack and speeds. Let's look at this security guard.
He sat like a statue of a sack of potatoes, but the cop's eyes were as watchful as a hawk's.
Wait, it's a cop. It's not a security guard? Let's talk to the cop then.
I'm Dr. Stobart.
Bonjour, docteur.
Bonjour, doctor. Shall we ask about Jacques Marquet?
Have you heard of a guy called Marquet?
He's in quarantine, doc, right behind this here door.
Marquet is just the man I wanted to see.
I wouldn't go in there if I was you. He has anthrax.
Yikes. Anthrax? What on earth happened? Let's ask him again.
I have to visit my patient.
What for?
Routine. I have to check he's still breathing.
What if he's not?
I'll sign the certificate and register his bed as vacant.
That's a cold and distant attitude to death.
Well, I've been institutionalized to the point of godlike aloofness.
The white coat suits you.
Thanks.
I just love how some of these conversations go somewhere. They go to a place that I didn't see coming. The white coat suits you. They're really clever. The writing is really clever for this game. It's so damn obvious. So I know that it was the same gag for the another statue, but overall the writing in this game is fantastic. Good job, Charles. Everyone at Revolution Software. Let's go about Guido and Flap.
Have you seen any suspicious characters on the ward?
Yeah, I have.
A gorilla and a weasel?
No, this was a tatty old bear.
How's the bear acting suspiciously?
Well, he was wearing a humbug.
Is that against the law?
No, but it's pretty weird for a bear.
Don't you think it's possible that the bear was a man in disguise?
Well, obviously, I'm not completely stupid. But who would go to the bother of disguising himself as a bear? It's not as if he'd blend in with the surroundings. I checked with base to see if any bears had been reported missing from the zoo or a traveling circus. They told me to sit tight until reinforcements arrive. I guess they're right. I'd be stupid to tackle a bear single-handed.
Actually, you're just really stupid if you think that was a bear. It was obviously that guy who was entertaining the kids at the hospital. Has he seen Khan? Shall we show the picture of Khan?
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I have never seen him before.
Hasn't seen him. What if we show him the gem? Nah, we'll just...
Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, Doc. If you see that bear, kick him in the nuts.
Will you stop talking about the bear? Let's go inside. But let's be careful. Jacques Marquet has anthrax. Jesus. And who gave it? Did Khan give it to him? Let's find out.
Rather you than me, pal.
He's telling his last words to us before we go in. Oh, but he looks really beaten up. And
Marquet?
Marquet?
Yes. I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well, what are you waiting for? get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The Lachmar gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the assassin.
Not me. I never inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the gem?
Deliver it to the Grand Master quickly. Tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
What, you have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with a flair for petty crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them?
We've met. What about the Hashashin?
Is more likely to have followed Klausner. He'll stop at nothing to prevent the reforging of the sword.
And that's bad, is it?
As for Klausner, he has gone off to Syria on a wild goose chase.
They have geese in Syria?
He has a theory about the location of the...
There's another doctor showed up. Another doctor showed up.
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. If Herr Hagenmeier was to hear that...
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
That's quite a lot of information from Marquet. So what happens now? George leaves the room.
Ah, there you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Oh, we got the pressure gauge again. Thank you.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
But he's still having a cardiac arrest, so isn't the doctor gonna help him?
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter!
You too, George.
The door's locked. Help me, officer.
It's an imposter who is trying to kill Jacques Marquet.
Stand back, monsieur.
We kept getting images of the machine that shows his heartbeat, but he's just shut the door lock, and they're all running inside. But Marquet is dead, and the window's open. The guy is gone. Marquet murdered by the bogus doctor. I'm back at Nico's apartment. We're back at Nico's apartment. After that commotion there.
I found Jacques Marquet.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man? Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window.
It was not Khan. We have a new murderer in the picture now. It's a completely different guy. But there were so many different things that we found out from Jacques Marquet that were just... He's talking about the Hashashin. He thought he was the Hashashin. And then he said the gem must be delivered to the Grand Master. The Hashashin is trying to stop the reforging of the sword. Now he's after Klausner. Klausner is on a wild goose chase in Syria that would lead him to something else. What is going on? We had quite the share of information. And now we can ask Nico about a lot of things. We can ask about the Templars. We can ask about We can ask about Khan, and then what is this icon here? A man holding a bloody knife.
Have you ever heard of the Hashi-Ashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. Like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again.
So Marquet said it was a Hashi-Ashin, but who the hell was that doctor? It was not Khan. Let's ask about Khan.
Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves.
All right. What about the Templars? We can ask about the Templars all of a sudden.
Have you found out any more about the Knights Templar?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
The guy responsible for the downfall was Philippe IV, the King of France, otherwise known as Philippe le Bel. Well, he is known to history as Philippe the Fair, but I doubt if the Templars called him that. I'm sure André will tell you all about him.
Oh, did André show up to your place? Shall we ask about the manuscript?
Let's take another look at the manuscript.
Oh, we're just going to take a look at it. All right. Oh, we can ask about the tripod.
That's the tripod in the Croon Museum.
That is true. And then the gem?
That's the gem that Pegram found in Lochmarn.
True. What about the bull?
There's a guy with a sword and a bull. Between them is a gem supported by a tripod.
All right. Gem supported by a tripod. Okay. The guy on a loom?
There's a guy working on a loom.
Okay. Crystal ball?
The Night Scroll bears a phrase in Latin. Through my teachings, you will be enlightened.
Through my teachings, you will be enlightened. What does that mean? And then the woman looking at her reflection in the mirror.
There's a woman looking at her reflection in a mirror, but the reflection has 3 hideous faces.
So it's just a review. We're not able to discuss anything new here. But I don't know. Did she get a visit from Lobineau? Well, let's leave it and let's leave and see what she says.
I guess I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one, Rousseau or Sergeant Mou? Oh, were you referring to André?
I'll let you work it out.
I think you know which weirdo we're talking about. But, obviously, we should go to Museum Croon because... What did he say? Jacques Marquet said he had located the tripod in Paris and he was going to get a couple of goons to steal it. We cannot let that happen. Well, they cannot have the tripod. We should get the tripod. How much have I played now? Whoa! Shall we go for an extra long? Why not? Let's go for the extra mile here. Let's go to the Museum Croon. I want to finish this part as well, because we know the tripod is going to be stolen. So let's get in there and let's see if Lobineau actually went to Nico's apartment or not.
You have left it very late, monsieur.
Late for what?
Anything. I am closing the museum soon. You wouldn't like to get locked in. I can tell you. Not in this gallery.
Why not?
It is haunted, monsieur.
You don't believe in ghosts, surely.
Oh, yes, I do. 7 years ago, a lad managed to hide in here. He'd made a bet with his friends, I suppose. When I found him in the morning, he was cold as ice and stiff as a board.
Well, what was the cause of death?
They said it was a brain tumor. But on his face was a look of stark, desperate terror such as I have never seen before.
Scary.
That is horrible. We can still talk to this guy. We can ask about these coins that we looked at in the case before.
What can you tell me about the collection of coins?
A rare example of silver coinage from the reign of Philippe le Bel. That little old lay buried for centuries in a field on the outskirts of Paris. They're unique. Nothing like them has been found anywhere else in Europe.
Philippe le Bel is the one that killed the Templars, right?
What can you tell me about the collection of coins?
A rare example of silver coinage from
Wait,
the
that's the
reign
same
of that little old unique.
It's the exact same thing. Is he going to repeat himself? Well, then let's just stop talking to him.
Thanks for your help.
That's weird. Usually the option goes away if we've already if it's been discussed, right? We don't get an option to get him to say the same thing unless it's the items that we're using. Let's talk to Lobineau first before we know the museum is going to get closed soon, so we know what we have to do.
Hi, André.
Hello, Georgie.
Hello, Georgie. Shall we ask about the tripod?
I think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The Lochman tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you.
Well, we did warn you. Let's see. I get the option with the tripod again. Is it going to be the same question again?
Why don't you loan the tripod
okay.
to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
Well, don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point.
Okay, so we cannot get the tripod like that. Shall we ask about the king?
What can you tell me about Philippe le Bel?
He was responsible for the extermination of the Knights Templar.
I know that, but why was Philip so hot to get rid of them?
Mostly because he wanted to get his hands on their treasure. He had an enormous debt and a lifelong war with England to fund. The trouble was the Templars were a highly respected holy order.
Right, let's ask more about Philip.
If the Templars were so powerful, how did this Philippe dude wipe them out?
By underhanded, dishonorable means, of course. The Pope was Clement V, a Frenchman.
French, huh? Handy for Philippe.
Fate had nothing to do with it. He was Philippe's puppet, planted to further his political ambitions. Philippe wanted the wealth of the Templars and used Clement to get it.
That bastard. Let's ask more about Philip.
So what was Philippe's plan? What happened?
Sealed orders were sent out all over France, not to be opened until the appointed day. That day was Friday, July 13th. That's the origin of our superstition regarding that date. At dawn, throughout the whole of France, the Templars were arrested. It was the biggest bust in the history of the world.
Wow, Friday the 13th. Let's ask more about Philip.
What happened to the Templars after their arrest?
Philippe was out for blood, so he handed the Templars over to the Inquisition. Not surprisingly, they confessed to a sensational and sordid list of blasphemies.
Like what?
Oh, the sort of things you read about in the gutter press. Devil worship, lewd sexual practices, spitting on the Holy Cross, that kind of thing.
Well, that must have given their lawyers some headaches.
Whether or not the accusations were true, this was not good publicity. Most of the charges were probably cooked up, but so were the Templars, literally. Hundreds of them were found guilty of heresy and flamed grilled at the stake.
Jesus.
They died protesting their innocence.
More about Philip, this maniac?
But surely Philippe had no proof of his charges against the Templars.
A man will admit anything under torture. The Inquisition fabricated some nonsensical demon called Baphomet, and then suggested to their victims that this was what they worshipped.
But they didn't have to agree.
The records show a Templar coming to trial with both feet burnt off. Fragments of flesh and charred bone falling from the stumps. What would you not admit to stop such torment?
So there was no truth at all in the Baphomet accusations?
Not a shred. Almost every victim described the idol differently. No, Baphomet never existed outside the sick minds of the inquisitors.
Baphomet. Why this worship of Baphomet. It seems very... If that's a lie by the Inquisition, it seems very specific. Let's ask more about Philip.
So Philippe stole the Templars' riches, huh?
Oh no, they weren't stupid. The king's troops marched first on the temple in Paris, then to the Templar home port at La Rochelle. There was no trace of the treasure, and the fleet of the Knights Templar had set sail.
This is quite the history lesson. I hope this is all true, by the way. Let's ask about the Hashashin.
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes, it was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder. It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes, they gave a new word to our language, Assassini, the assassins.
Interesting. Let's ask more about the assassin.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legend surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams. He awoke to find himself in a fabulous garden with everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs. A heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
Hash is a hell of a drug. It was not hash, it was cocaine is a hell of a drug. Rick James. If you want to see something funny, not Rick James, right? If you want to see something really funny, go on YouTube and just watch the unedited interview of Rick James for the Dave Chappelle show. It's just him, like there, for uncut, just telling all these stories. It is the funniest effing thing ever. So, Hashashin, more.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing to die for the cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then, the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
You got it. They were fearless and deadly.
Does the cult of the assassins still exist?
Take a look around at the world today. You tell me.
Notice this is 1996. This is 5 years before the World Trade Center thing. Making a game about a assassin Hashashin from a Muslim cult seemed pretty innocent back then, probably.
Thanks for your help, André.
You're welcome.
But then again, is he really... I'm not going to say anything else. Well, I mean, but there's another killer now in the game. And why did that guy kill Jacques Marquet? Right, so we need to get that tripod. They're going to close the museum soon. Where can we hide? We already checked this before. There's the closet, like the
It was an ancient Egyptian sarcophagus with a beautifully painted effigy of its owner on the lid.
He called it a closet, but it's obviously a sarcophagus. But if we try to get into it, he will stop us.
Don't even think of climbing in there, monsieur. You'll be suffocated.
So we're not able to get...
I always wondered how it felt to be a mummy.
We're not going to be able to be a mummy, but what's this here by the window? Close to where Lobineau is looking at some things.
A metal rod attached to the wall was connected to the window.
All right, let's look at the window.
High above me was a window.
Can we open the window?
The rod turned smoothly, and the window above me opened.
I see. What happens when we open this window?
High above me was a window. The window was wide open.
He goes back and closes the window. The security guard went to close the window right after we opened it. Doesn't that mean that once we open the window, we should get to the sarcophagus as soon as possible while he's trying to close the window and then open the sarcophagus and get in there? Let's go. We just opened the window. He's just standing there. Okay, he's going for the window. Let's open the sarcophagus. We went inside. He closed the window. We're inside the sarcophagus. He closed the window. And we're just in there. And now... I forgot to save. I have to save immediately.
It is closing time, Monsieur Lobineau.
Okay.
Already, there just aren't enough hours in the day.
More than enough for me. I can't wait to get home and put my feet up.
Eh bien, see you tomorrow.
Good night, Monsieur.
They're all leaving. Because it's closing time. Folks, I know this is a long episode this time around, but why not? 1.5 hours? Sure, why not? Because I've been playing less than an hour for like the past 2 or 3 episodes, but the second time I played 1.5 hours, so why not just go for it? Okay, so that's Flap. No, that's Guido. So they've broken in, and George noticed it. Probably George opened the sarcophagus. Yes, he's opening the sarcophagus now.
Hey, Guido! Look at this!
Quit fooling around, you moron!
Flap is
Get your ass over here and bring that flashlight.
Flap is doing that thing when you point the flashlight into your face and make a funny... Okay, save immediately. Save. Because I'm saving because we can die here. You want to see what happens when we just walk up to Guido and stop talking to him? He'll kill us.
Oh, Guido!
What's the big idea, you dummy? Shine the light down here.
The mummy! It's come alive!
He sees us.
If that's a mummy, I'm glad I'm an orphan.
What does that mean? And he shot us. And we're dead. If that's a mummy, I'm glad I'm an orphan. Alright. Body bag again into the... is that a river or an ocean? I have no idea. RIP tombstone. So we're dead, right? So let's restore that. And not do that again. Instead, let's look around here. So there's the tripod. They're going to try to steal the tripod. Right? No, wait. What the hell?
Oh, Guido!
What's the big idea?
Okay. Sorry about that. I right-clicked, so I thought I would just observe the tripod, but that's probably... We're not able to do that. That was the same conversation, by the way. Didn't need to listen to that again. That was weird. So I died again. I was going to do that 2 times, but... Alright, so let's just stay away from the tripod and those 2. What can we look at here? What about this totem here? We went... Slide it.
What the... Who's there?
Let's get out of here!
What's George gonna do? He's gonna try to tilt the totem. Oh, the fish at the top of the totem fell on his head. The totem broke the glass, landed on Flap. There's this woman coming down from the ceiling. She just kicked Guido down. They're all down. Back at Nico's apartment. What?
And when I woke up, I was at the police station. Luckily, I managed to persuade Rosso I was innocent.
Poor Georges.
What a mess. I bungled the whole thing.
I don't think so. You made a pretty good job of distracting those 2 crooks.
Yeah, but the killer got away with the tripod.
No, he didn't. He's not the only one who can dress up in costume.
You mean... It was you who stole the tripod? Oh, hell, Nico. I could have been shot.
Those dogs are more likely to shoot their own feet.
I just wish you'd told me your plans. We're supposed to be in this together. And how come you dressed up like a pantomime cat?
Don't sulk, Georgie, please.
Oh, Rats. And don't call me Georgie.
Oh, I really thought you'd be pleased. After all, we've got the tripod. Aren't you going to try putting the gem on the tripod?
I guess so. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
The gem fits perfectly, but what does that prove?
I love how he just put the tripod in.
Maybe the tripod has to be in a certain location.
There's nothing on the manuscript to indicate where, though, is there?
Oh, by the way, I had a visit from André Lobineau.
Oh, yeah. I hope you didn't mind me giving him your address.
Not at all. It was lovely to see him again. He was over the moon when I showed him the manuscript. It's not often he gets that excited. He made a sketch of the knight's crest to take back to the museum. I believe he's identified the family who bear that crest.
Hey.
I sure hope so.
So, a lot of things here. So, Nico decided to dress up as a, what was it, a phantom? What was it? A cat-like figure. I don't know what, like a cat burglar, I suppose. And she showed up from the ceiling, and she kind of just like swung on a rope and kicked Guido and knocked him out. George had already knocked out Flap with the totem, but then the top of the totem landed on George's head, so he got knocked unconscious. So they're all three of them just knocked out unconscious, and Nico was the one who stole the tripod. But George is really lucky that he got out of that. You know, Russell let him go. He was in charge for stealing the tripod. So we can ask about the Hashashin again.
Lobineau explained who the Hashashin were.
Yeah?
The cult of the assassins.
Oh, boy!
That's a weird reaction, but yeah, seems very excited about it. So we have the gem now, we have the tripod. We put the gem on the tripod, nothing really happened. Maybe it has to be in a specific place, it might be. And then Lobineau, he did show up. He probably showed up that night talking to Nico. Which means that after they talked, Nico immediately went to the Kroon Museum and stole the tripod. Busy schedule. But he said he's identified the knights. What was it?
I have to go.
Already? You only just arrived.
We're just gonna leave.
Time and tide wait for no man.
Okay, I'll see you later.
I'm gonna stop here, obviously. I've played for a long time now, but so we'll just leave the apartment and just save outside Rue Jarry. But I think we need to talk to Lobineau again if he has checked out the manuscript, and he said he identified where the knight was from, like which family he was from. Why would this one knight be in the manuscript for the entire Templars? What could that significance be? So anyways, I think we'll save here, stop here. Next time we'll go to Lobineau. There's probably a lot of commotion around the Kroon Museum because the tripod has been stolen. But then again, Lobineau's finally seen the manuscript, so we can learn more about it. Especially because with all this new information from Jacques Marquet and the Hashashin and what the Baphomet, what could it all possibly mean? It's only one way to find out. Keep watching this on YouTube or listening to it on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, or any other podcast apps. There will be hopefully another episode of Broken Sword, The Shadow of the Templars walkthrough and review quickly in the future. I hope you've enjoyed this one so far, and like I said, stay tuned for more episodes in the future. We will get to the end of the story. We will find out what's going on. Alright, that's it for today. Save again? Sure. Because I already got killed twice tonight. Alright, that's it for tonight. You guys take care. See ya. Bye-bye.